Today's guest is multi-gifted and multi-talented, but she is single-minded. She is dedicated to helping women to find their sweet spot, to find the life that God has purposed for them. Carla Collis Gesite is my guest here today on Babbie's House. Stay tuned. A very encouraging show is coming your way right now.
Every day is filled with possibility. At Babbie's house, everybody is family. Welcome to Babbie's house.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Babbie's house. I'm your host, Babbie Mason. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so happy that you've taken time out of your busy life, your busy day, to sit down for a moment and let the Lord pour into your life. Today's show will be very encouraging. Carla Collis Gesite is my very special guest, and she's a life coach, and she knows what it means to have a dream and have aspirations, and helping other people to discover their gifting and God's plan for them, particularly women who are searching for their purpose after an empty nest or after a divorce, or those things where life sometimes sends our life into a shift or a change. She'll help you in that regard. So listen to some very encouraging conversation with my very special guest. But I'm going to kick things off with a song. I always say this when I sing this song called Every Praise. I wasn't listening the day that God gave this song, because it's a great song written by Hezekiah Walker called Every Praise. Come on, sing it with me. Sing every praise.
Every praise,
yes,
is to our God.
Every word of worship, with one accord. Every praise, every praise, is to our God. That's right. Sing hallelujah, to our God. Glory, hallelujah, is to our God. Every praise, every praise is to our God. Take it up one time. Yeah, sing every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Yes, every praise is to our God. That's right. Sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah, is due our God. Yes, every praise is to our God. Yeah, take it up one time. Oh, every praise is to our God. Every word of worship with one accord. Every praise is to our God. Oh, sing hallelujah to our God. Glory, hallelujah, is to our God. Every praise is to our God. Yeah. Come on, sing this now.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with dachshund breeding.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Information on hot water heating.
No. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out the words.
World music, playing track now.
No.
Let me try. Our daughter gets confused about which details in a story are important.
Which paper towels are most absorbent?
What?
Here are 5 product reviews.
Why are you not getting me?
See, I told you.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
I was having academic trouble. My grades were bad. I would get D's and C's.
I want my son to be successful in the life.
I'd get mad because I blame the teachers you gave me a D.
Do the right thing, Hector. He's so smart.
Thanks to community schools, they directed me on the right path. Once I tried it, it was oh wow, this is easy.
Help us change the picture of education for more than 1.3 million kids every year. Visit communitiesandschools.org.
Thanks for coming back to Babbie's house. I wanted to introduce you to Carla Collis Gesite. And she is a business person, she's a life coach, she's a recovering workaholic, and a former perfectionist. But what that means is she's had a lot of experience in discovering her gifts, her talents, and God's purpose, and the desire to pour all of that into the lives of others. Will you help me to welcome to Babbie's house, Carla Collis Gesite. My friend, I'm so happy to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Babbie. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, excited to have you. You know, immediately, as I read a little bit about your bio, you just totally, your experience totally resonates with me because, I think everything that God gave me, I have to do it. I have to use it now because that idea that I have to do it now because if I don't, I might forget it or somebody else might do it and then I'll be disappointed because I didn't do it. But that sometimes leads to exhaustion and a frazzled life. But so about trying to find that sweet spot while doing all of that to give God glory with your life, and you want to do that for others.
Yes.
So talk to me, you are a life coach, and we'll get to all of that, but I want to hear a little bit about your background. Talk to me about some of the things that you've done that have kind of led you to what you're doing now.
Well, it all starts with my childhood. I'm the classic take charge firstborn, and that has a lot of good aspects of it, but it also can have some drawbacks. And so looking back, I was that kid that sat on the front row and raised their hand for every question. And if I got anything less than 100 on my papers, then I would just burst into tears and be sick to my stomach. And it wasn't external pressure. It wasn't from my parents or teachers. It was an internal thing. It's looking back, I really thought my purpose was to perform. It's okay, you got to be good enough. You got to earn your worth. Even though I knew God loved me, I didn't grasp that back then.
Wow.
So that's kind of the perfectionistic tendencies, and they followed me all the way through school.
And that perfectionistic attitude, mindset, leads to workaholism. I mean, because you just feel like you've got to be good at it. Not only do you have to be good at it, you have to be perfect at it. And that leads you to working and overworking, trying to uphold that life and that attitude and that mindset. So when did you decide that enough was enough and that working towards perfection is just really not possible in our own human flesh?
Oh, it was when I was in my 40s, well, 30s and 40s actually. The first big epiphany was I had climbed the corporate ladder, the cliche, and I had the nice title and the national team, and I worked for a marketing research company. But I was working myself to death, and I was just exhausted. And it was a beautiful Saturday, and I was in the office. And even though I put myself in that situation, I resented my job at that point. And I was like, where is everybody else? You know, why am I the only one that's working these long hours? And it was as if God tapped me on the shoulder and said, you know, they're not here, Carla, because they chose not to be here. And at the time, I didn't really feel like I had a choice. Now it seems ridiculous, but, you know, my whole mantra was that, you know, work hard, be the best. That's what you got to do. Get in there and get the job done and be the best. And that really started me down a path of major transformation. God letting me know that I was about a lot more than my work and my accomplishments. My whole identity was tied up in that. And it really was an identity crisis. So I was like, well, who am I? You know, if I'm not the vice president and then a marketing researcher. And what God began to show me is that it's all about who I am in Christ.
Yes.
And who He created me to be. Now, what I do flows from that, but what's important is not what I do or the accomplishments. What's important is that I'm true to who He made me to be.
Yes, our worth does not come from what we do,
right,
but in whose we are. And that's so powerful when we wrap our minds around the fact that Jesus paid it all. And
right.
Amen. Salvation it's free, but it's not cheap. You know, Jesus did it all, and our life is a response to what He has done. And so I'm so grateful that that resonates with me and with so many other women who are working with you now. You have this vision to help women to find their sweet spot, to find their purpose. Talk to me about this desire to help others.
Well, I came from such a obsessive kind of place. You know, I was always thinking about how I was going to be the best and do the best and accomplish. And I'm living a life now, and it sounds kind of cliche, but I really didn't think I could live with this much peace and fulfillment. I'm really a very different person, you know, this 15, 20 years later than I was then. And that's what I want for every woman is, you know, I can embrace who God created me to be.
Yes.
Not worry about who I'm not. And, you know, accept myself, mess and all, and know that I can live out His purpose for me and not be so worried about what society says, what other people think, what I should do. It's what has God called me to do. He's wired me in a particular way. He's given me particular experiences.
Yes.
I'm passionate about particular things, and how do I bring that together into my purpose and do the same thing for other women?
So specifically, how and what do you do for other women to help them to find that sweet spot or to find God's purpose? Is there a system? Is there a curriculum? Tell me specifically how you help them.
You want the secret formula?
I do.
Well, I think we make it a lot more complicated than it has to be, because when people come to work with me, they're not usually saying, I want to find my purpose. They're saying, I want to plan my next chapter in life. And over the course of doing that, the purpose emerges. You know, I think there's this myth that purpose is so hard to find and that it has to be something big. You know, I think some people are afraid to find their purpose. They think, what if God calls me to sell all my belongings and be like Mother Teresa, you know? But I encourage them and say, your purpose is something you're going to want to do. It's something God put in your heart. Now, that's not to say you might not have sacrifices that you make, but it's something that God put in you. And it's sort of like it's woven into the fabric of who you are, your purpose is. So I always tell people, you're already living your purpose. But what happens is if you really uncover what that purpose is, you can be more intentional about letting it go through all of your life. And it gives you a lot more fulfillment. And it's really sort of a theme running through your life.
Yes.
So, like, for instance, one of my clients was, and she actually was someone who came and said, I've got to find my purpose. I've been looking for it for years. I can't find it.
Wow.
And as we worked together, she realized that she had a real gift for putting people at ease and really being fully present with them. And, you know, I think a lot of times, Babbie, we downplay our strengths because we think, oh, everybody has that because it's natural to us. But that's not a natural gift. And so what she decided is that her purpose is to lift people up and bring out the rest. That's her purpose.
Yes. So that woman that comes to you for to help her find focus or to help stir up her gifts, is there a typical kind of woman that that comes to you? Is she a certain age group or a certain demographic or a certain status? What does she look like?
Now, most of my clients are in their 40s and 50s. I think that's a time when we often start kind of reevaluating where we are. And some of these women are where I was. They were married to their work. You know, I didn't get married to a man until I was 47.
Wow.
Because I was so married to my work. So it can happen, ladies. It can happen. But the idea is that I lost my train of thought.
Well, I was asking you, who is that woman that comes to you for direction or for focus?
Yes,
You know,
thank you.
what is her age group, her demographic, her challenges, her problems? What does she look like?
I got so excited I got carried away.
Absolutely, and that's quite all right.
Well, the women that come to me quite often are where I was. They're married to their work. They resent their work. They're kind of angry. They have a chip on their shoulder. And they say, I don't want to be like this anymore. And they want to take their personal life back, and sometimes that means taking new work, and sometimes it doesn't. And they're usually either married with no kids or single. And then the other group of women that I love working with is women who are either empty nesters or getting ready to be. Ideally getting ready to be, so they plan ahead. But what happens is they, just like the workaholic women, they've been putting themselves last behind family, children. And they finally got a time when they're saying, you know, my child's going to be gone off to college. What am I going to do with all this newfound time and energy? And even if they're working outside the home, maybe their job's not what they really want. So this is their time to look at, you know, what is my purpose and what does God have for me in this next chapter in my life?
You know, I love this mindset and the direction of this conversation because it's so encouraging, because a lot of women feel that they have no purpose once their kids are grown. I remember the day that our son went off to school and went off to college, and I walked by his room and it didn't smell like tennis shoes anymore, and it was perfectly, you know, the bed was made, all the clothes were picked up, and I sat on the end of his bed and I had a really good cry. And, you know, I wondered if that part of me, you know, was gone, or if I really had a real purpose after my kids left home. But I really think that a part of me that was kind of dormant came to life, and a new part of me emerged. And I'm sure a lot of women feel like that. So when you help them, the purpose of a life coach, we have a couple of minutes left in this segment, but talk to me about the purpose of a life coach. Is it, you know, what do you do like in a typical session maybe?
Well, a good analogy is when somebody works with a personal trainer for their fitness goals. Just as they do that, a life coach helps you with your life goals, whatever those happen to look like. And so in my case, when a client comes to me, they're usually saying, you know, I'm restless, I'm not fulfilled, I don't know what I want to do next, but I know it's not this. You know, I'm stuck and I want to get unstuck. And so I have tools and things that I use, but it's very much customized to the client. So a lot of it's about getting them to have that time and space to talk and to look at what they want, not what everybody else wants, but set that time aside so they can talk through with me what their desires are. And I have, like I said, I have the tools and assessments, and I have a program that they go through. But mostly it's to get them to really get back in touch with who God created them to be, build their confidence back up, because I think quite often, women in particular, we have this fear that we're not good enough.
Now, a life coach is totally different than a therapist. It's not necessarily therapy, is it?
It's not, and that's a great point. That's a great point. The primary difference, I would say, between therapy in its traditional sense and life coaching is that therapy, we tend to go to therapy when we have a specific problem, like something's getting in the way and we want to dig back into the past so that we can heal it. I believe in therapy, I've had it. But life coaching is more about, okay, let's figure out where you want to go, and I want to be your partner in helping you get there. I want to support you. I want to challenge you when you need to be challenged.
Yes.
I want to pick you up off the floor when you feel like you've had it.
Yes, we'll talk more about that after this break. So stick around, everyone. After this break, I'll talk more with Carla Collis Gesite right after this break. So stick around. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, may I please have an application? Thank you.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Okay.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. It's got nothing to do with fairness. Bam. Your whole world changes in an instant. And you never see it coming. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to learn the signs of a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke. F-A-S-T. Fast.
Na 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 na, I love you so. I love you, I love you. La 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 la, la 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 la.
We're here.
Yay!
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
I am so glad you came back to Babbie's house. My conversation with Carla Collis Gesite, who is a life coach and one of those people that will run alongside you or run alongside her clients and help them to be their best, help them to find their purpose. I want to talk a little bit more about purpose. There's a lot of talk, since Purpose-Driven Life and all these other books that are written on purpose. But God has a plan and a purpose for everyone's life. And some people might say, well, I don't qualify, or I don't know that I have gifts and talents that God can use. But talk to us about the importance of finding God's plan / his purpose and the gifts and talents that he's put in every person. You as a life coach, talk to me about your perspective on all of that.
Well, the main perspective I have is that every single person has a purpose, because God doesn't make mistakes. You're here, and you're here for a reason.
Amen.
And it doesn't have to be hard for you to find, and it doesn't have to be something huge, but he has a plan just for you. And sometimes I think what gets in the way is that we don't feel confident, or who am I to think about doing that? But that's just a ploy that Satan uses to try to get us off track.
Yes.
So I think the best thing to do to start really exploring your purpose is to go before God and ask him to make you be more aware about what your strengths are and what you're passionate about and what lights you up.
So God's purpose, or his plan, are usually connected to our gifts and talents?
Definitely, definitely. There's a quote by Frederick Buechner, hope I said that right. He's a theologian, and he says, the place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet.
That's good.
Yeah, I love that.
That's really good.
And I think that encapsulates it. We all have particular strengths and interests and experiences, and God uses those to shape who we are. And in turn, that means we can meet a need in the world.
So our purpose is connected to that thing or that gift that brings us the most joy.
Yes, typically it does.
And for example, as a musician, of course, I love what I do, and I do what I love, and I happen to get paid for it. But I would do it, and I have done it totally for free. And I do it with passion. I sing anywhere and everywhere. I remember one day I was in the grocery store, and there was a song that was playing on the Muzak, and I guess I must have lost myself in the waiting, and the next thing I know, I was just kind of singing underneath my breath, but maybe singing a little louder than I thought. And the person ahead of me said, wow, that sounds good. Sing a little bit louder. And next thing I know, I said, okay, well, I sang this chorus of Amazing Grace. They turned off the Muzak, and I was drawing a crowd. And when I realized there was a crowd gathering, I just poured it all out. So the thing that is connected to your purpose is connected to your gifting. And the thing that you would do totally for free, the thing that gives you the most joy, is usually connected to your purpose. Well, talk to us about your website. How can we get more information about your coaching, about your book that you're working on? How can we get all this information?
Well, my company is called Road to Results Coaching. So the website is www.rtrcoaching.com. And I have a lot of resources there that people can tap into. And as you said, I am writing a book about purpose. It's something I'm very passionate about. And, you know, my dream is for everyone to find that purpose, that theme that runs through their lives.
How does one know if they need a life coach?
Well, if they feel stuck. And of course, being a life coach, I'm biased. I mean, I think everyone can benefit from a life coach. I have one of my own. But I think if you feel really stuck in life and you need somebody to help you kind of get going again. And part of the beauty of being a life coach is that, you know, my whole reason for this relationship with this person is to do what's best for them and to facilitate what's best for them. So I have no agenda.
Yes.
You know, like their friends or family members, I don't have any agenda except to do what's best for them and to call out what God has for them.
Yeah, so it's all about them and their need and their journey and their dreams. And that's a wonderful thing. I'm so happy to have you on the show today, Carla. Thanks for coming this way. And when you write that book, come back and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you.
And thank you, dear friend, for being my very special guest here on Babbie's House. It's always my joy to bring you a wonderful, encouraging show like the show today with Carla Gesite. And